With the win this past weekend, guys, Ailstair Overeem is one step closer to that elusive UFC title shot. Does he get it? We're talking about that as well as Ovince Saint Preux' performance right now. What's up, Barnhill family? Welcome back to the channel.
Yo.
So, Nick, the veterans showed out this past Saturday night.
That
OSP and Overeem. It was a good showing for both of those guys. And
yeah, absolutely. The card was a little bit top heavy, like we said last week, but it was definitely a good showing for Overeem. Man, how good did he look?
Absolutely. And this is what I loved about this performance is one thing we've known about Overeem for his whole career. He comes from that Dutch kickboxing style. His striking is just so crisp, so precise, and so technically good. But he had to dig deep to win this one. He got in there with a guy who at times looked like a better striker than he was.
Right. Usually, Ailstair Overeem stands out so far ahead in the clinch work against his opponents. This guy's elbows and clinch work was high level. And for somebody who's just coming off the Contender Series and just finding their footing in the UFC, I mean, Sakai, even though he didn't get past the Demolition Man, which not many people do, he's definitely somebody to watch out for.
Yeah, Sakai his Muay Thai looked phenomenal. I mean, it's those punches and bunches to get you covered up,
right? And
then he rips a knee, rips a hard leg or body kick,
elbows
in the clinch rather. He was really looked good, and he has there's a lot of promise there for him. He's only 29 years old, and we know at heavyweight that's just a baby,
right? And looks can be deceiving. He doesn't exactly look like he would go in there and rip somebody's head off or give Ailstair Overeem a close matchup. But,
yeah,
he
certainly did.
Don't judge a book by the cover because that guy's a stud.
Yeah, somewhere Rory Big Country Nelson just like his ear perked up. But, yeah, Ailstair Overeem, so what I loved about this performance is, one, I think when we think about Ailstair in recent memory, it's hard to just get that image of him just getting totally knocked out by almost getting his head taken off by Francis Ngannou. However, that actually was longer ago than you may think. Ailstair is 4-1 in his last 5, and the only L he took was to Rosenstrike, a fight that he won all but the last 10 seconds of. Right. So, if not for that slip up in the last minute of the fight, Ailstair would be 5-0 in his last 5 right now.
Yeah.
So that said, he is 40 years old. He is 4-1 in his last 5. And I think he demonstrated some really good grappling skills and really good awareness in there to say, hey, you know what? My game is striking. This guy's actually beating me at my own game and getting the better of some of these exchanges. Let me pull a veteran move and pull a rabbit out of the hat here and go to my grappling and my ground and pound, which I certainly didn't think that was the way he was going to win that fight if he was going to win it. So props to him. And does the 40-year-old Reem have a legitimate chance of getting that crack at the UFC title that's been so elusive to him?
I think he does. And I don't think his career would be sealed up perfectly if he doesn't get that UFC title. If anyone in the heavyweight division deserves a shot and skillfully has the chance to get it, it's Overeem. He's just always missing by a little bit in these fights, and he'll be winning the fights that will get him to the title shot or give him the belt, and then he'll lose it somehow. Yeah. I really think that's the fire that's burning in his chest right now. Yeah. And I think this might be his most promising title run that he's had in the UFC. And I'm a big Overeem fan. We've been fans for a long time. I really would love to see him strap that UFC gold around his waist.
Yeah, and we were fans back when he was Ubereem, before the USADA testing pools, when he looked like just an absolute human statue.
And I don't think anybody in the world could have beaten Uber. If USADA didn't come spoil the party, I don't think anybody would have. I think he might have been the most dominant UFC champion if Overeem was still.
I can't think of a strike that I would rather take less than that liver kick that he delivered on Brock Lesnar.
Man.
That took a guy who weighs almost 300 pounds.
Yeah.
Of just 300 pounds of freakish athletic strength and crumbled him to the ground.
The best word to describe that kick was it crumbled him.
Yeah, literally.
And what we're seeing this year, I'd say this year more than most, is some veterans that are reinventing themselves.
Yeah.
And it's one of those things. It's an unwritten rule, but it's almost 100% proof that you can go back and see that this happens. If you get 2 or 3 or even 4, if you're lucky, shots at a title, and you come up with second place every time, you usually don't get another one.
Joseph Benavidez is probably the most current example.
Most current. Frankie Edgar's now, he's, if Frankie doesn't go down to 135, I don't really see a shot at a title for him ever again.
Right. Yeah, he's got to do it at 35. He's not getting one at 45 or 55 again. So
right. And so Overeem kind of joins that party now. And one good thing about it is most of those guys understand that. And Overeem definitely understands it. He goes, "This is my last shot at a title. I'm going to give it my all." I think he knows that the UFC is ready to bring some new faces and characters into the heavyweight division, the top 5. And he's just been that nightmare that most of them can't get past, Sakai being one of them.
Yeah.
And, every time that they think they're going to build a name off of Ailstair Overeem, he says not so fast. So
yeah, and I think you're going to see he understands, as you just said, exactly. This is the last title run he's got. He's got that 4 in front of his age now. He's 40 years old, so this is not coming. Or if he it's either he wins out
right
and gets the belt. Any loss at this point, it's never happening.
It sets him back too far.
It sets him back too many years, and there's too many people coming up.
And he's also fought everybody. So, Stipe, he's already fought him. Francis, he's already fought him. Rosenstrike, he's already fought him. All the guys that are in his way are the potential matchups. If we see him fight him again, most everybody that he's going to be fighting next, likely he has already fought. So it's one of those things where if he loses again to him, then we're not going to get a third match against some of the same opponents, and it sets him back too far. I think he knows that.
Yeah.
And usually when a guy's this long and far into his career, they're just fighting for paychecks, but it's cool to see a veteran, a 40-year-old man fighting with this fire in him.
Yeah.
And like, obviously he's never won the title, but damn, he's been close a bunch of times. So I think it's really cool to see him competing at such a high level and with that fire in him.
Well, if you're gonna make a run in your late 30s, early 40s, best to be a heavyweight.
Absolutely.
So he's got that going for him. The other thing is that I think he does know this is his last run, and you're going to see a very calculated, very technical Overeem. He's not going to be afraid to go into the playbook as he did against Sakai and implement some ground and pound.
Yeah. How about those takedowns?
Incredible. If he thinks he's got, and even DC was like, well, that wasn't technically right, but it worked.
Yeah.
So, if it works,
if it got the guy to the ground, it definitely worked, know?
So the thing about Reem that I think we're going to see from here on out is a very calculated, very technical approach. He's gonna try to, as best he can, to get the fights that he wants, and to implement what he thinks is the advantage that he has over this fighter.
Right.
And I think you're going to see a very smart Overeem in his plan for the next 3 or 4 fights before he ends his career.
Athletically, he's above a lot of the guys in the heavyweight division. Even at his age now, a lot of them are kind of similar age to Overeem, but I think everybody's always known he's been an elite level striker, and he kind of put himself on the map, even though he's so old, as an elite level grappler and ground and pounder more specifically. I mean, those final shots that Sakai took were brutal.
Oh yeah, those were really bad.
Those elbows and that punch and that hammer fist. Nobody wants to take those.
No, absolutely not. And so it kind of begs the question: who do you want to see him fight next? I mean, so you obviously have Francis. He gets the crack at Stipe. John Jones has now made some things interesting at 265. He's in the mix. Do you run it back with Rosenstrike and see if that was just a lucky shot there at the end of the fight, or if Rosenstrike can solve the Reem puzzle and get past him again? Who would you like to see Ailstair Overeem fight next, as the first part of the question? And then the second part of the question, should he get past that person, is the winner of Stipe Francis next for him?
It's hard to say somebody who's won, if he does win his next fight, 5-1 out of his last 6 fights in the heavyweight division, where he's been log jammed at the top 5, fighting all the best guys for a while now. So, it's hard to say that he wouldn't get another title shot. I think the fact that you've got people like John Jones throwing their name in the hat, and there's some stories that can be created and new blood and stuff, that he might have to do a little bit of waiting. And usually when fighters have to do a little waiting, that means they have to do a little extra fighting.
Yeah.
Which is not great for his game plan. As we've laid out, he clearly wants to win one or two more and then get that title shot, which he deserves. But when you've got somebody like John Jones that says, hey, I'm ready, the UFC is going to do what they need to do to put him in that spot.
Yeah.
How about, I don't think that this will happen because John is a champ. He just gave up his title after beating everybody that tried to take it for so long. He's like, all right, now I'll probably go up to heavyweight and do the same. I think his first fight at heavyweight will be a title fight, but John's, yeah. I think his first fight at heavyweight will be a title fight, but if he's willing to do it, I think there's nobody to welcome him to the heavyweight division better than Ailstair Overeem.
Yeah, and that fight is not a given. What do we see? The next person that we're going to talk about here, Ovince Saint Preux.
Right.
He went up to heavyweight to give it a shot against Ben Rothwell. And that didn't go so well. Gustafsson against Fabricio, who everybody thought Gus was going to win. So it's not a walk in the park for John Jones just to go up and beat Ailstair Overeem. And I'll take it even further to say, if John Jones gets past Ailstair Overeem, he's a legitimate heavyweight, and he should get an immediate title shot thereafter against the winner of Francis versus Stipe.
Right.
So I think I would personally like to see the Reem fight Rosenstrike again. Mm-hmm. I would like to see the rematch there. Rosenstrike's coming off a win. Reem's coming off a win. There's a logjam at the top because Francis deserves his next shot. And, he's got the win over Rosenstrike. So I think put the Reem against Rosenstrike for the second time. Let Francis and Stipe handle their business. And then depending on the outcome of Overeem versus Rosenstrike, is it compelling enough to take them to that shot with the winner Stipe Francis, or does that, open some space for John Jones to slide in and take the next title shot? I don't know, and I think I would kind of need to see that fight happen again to give my opinion rather as to who should be the next one, whether it be the winner of Reem, Rosenstrike, or John Jones.
Yeah. Another one that we could see him fight next, Derek Lewis.
That would be a lot of fun.
That would be a great fight and a true test for Derek Lewis.
Yeah.
I mean, both of those guys are 1 or 2 fights away from being the top contender, especially if certain fighters lose and John Jones stays out for a little while. So I think that could be like a contender or a number 1 contender part 2 type of show.
Yeah, I agree. That's a fun fight. And then Sakai, just to touch on him before we move to the co-main event. Yeah. I mean, there's a lot of promise there. I see a future title contender. I mean, he was in there at times winning rounds and winning the majority of the striking exchanges against one of the best strikers that is in the heavyweight division right now in Ailstair Overeem, one of the most decorated, certainly. Like I said, he's 29 years old. He's got a lot of years left in front of him in the heavyweight division. He's exciting. His style is fun to watch. Right. So I don't think his stock went down necessarily in this fight. He Overeem, as a veteran, figured out a way to take the fight to somewhere where he believed he had an advantage, and he was able to do it successfully and win the fight.
Right. Overeem, when Overeem fights, people tune in.
Yeah.
Overeem has earned that right, and he's a legend of the sport. People that aren't even that big into the sport, they know who Overeem is. And to watch Sakai put it on him, and all you have to tell people or show people is that Sakai was beating Overeem in some clinch positions. That's unheard of. That nobody out clinches Overeem generally in the heavyweight division. He's a monster when it comes to that style and striking and stuff. And the fact that he had to resort to grappling and ground and pound tells you everything you need to know about Sakai's striking ability. He's a real problem for a lot of the fighters in the top 10, in my opinion.
I agree. The future is very bright for Sakai. So
and if we have to say who he should fight next, it's hard to say. But maybe if Gustafsson is looking for another fight at heavyweight, maybe give those. They're both coming off a loss.
They have very good strikers against each other. That's a good one. Junior Dos Santos is coming off a loss. Yeah. He wants to try to get back on track. That might be a fun fight. Right. 2 Brazilians, 2 tough guys. But yeah, I think wherever he goes next, he needs to take a couple of years and just continue to develop his game, continue to progress. There's no rush at heavyweight. There's a log jam at the top, so let that sort out.
Build your name.
You know, Sakai was on my radar before I knew who he was, and I knew he was a prolific striker, but you know, not anywhere near like he's on my radar right now, even though it was a loss, which is weird to say. But that was only the second loss of his career. The only other loss he had was in Bellator, and it was a split decision loss against Czech Congo.
Right.
So, you know,
safe to say, even though he lost, he has arrived.
He absolutely. That's a good way to put it. So moving on to another great veteran, Ovince Saint Preux. He got back on track after he had a bit of a failed experiment at heavyweight himself.
Right. Talking about the John Jones situation, the Gustafsson situation. You even go back one weight class, the Weidman and the Rockhold moving up and not getting the results they wanted. It's not all butterflies and rainbows at the weight division above you, you know,
or below you. TJ Dillashaw could tell you about that too.
Exactly. You know, everybody's built a certain way.
Yeah.
And you can manipulate your body to grow or to shrink how you need to, but people that have been fighting in that division for a long time where you're trying to go, they just are more comfortable. They're more in tune with their body at that size, and it's not always a great thing.
No, it's not. And Ovince, I mean, like I said, nothing against Ben Rothwell. He's a great fighter, but if you can't get past Ben Rothwell, you're not
you don't
getting
have
a title shot. Yeah, you're not contending in a serious way at that weight division. So Ovince Saint Preux, I think he made the right decision to move back down to light heavyweight. I think he's a more natural light heavyweight. You know, with John being the king for so long and Ovince, you know, losing to John, it kind of, there wasn't really a way forward for him, I think. But now that John's gone, and Ovince is getting back on track against Alonzo Menifield, then it's kind of opening up some exciting things, which I think was a main factor for why he wanted to go back down.
And he's a big body, so he damn sure can't go back. He can't go to 185. He figured he'd try out 265 heavyweight. It didn't go his way, but you know, it was like the silver lining. John Jones leaves the division, and now he's like, hey, I can go back down, and there's a good chance that I'll be fighting for a title if I can get on a win streak. And with the layout of that division, I could see him going on.
Let him get one or two good wins under him, and people will be talking about him for a title next.
Right.
Alonzo Menifield, I mean, that guy has all the attributes to be just a crusher. He
looked like somebody that showed up to compete in Mr. Olympia, and they told him there was a fight going on. He said he'll do that anyways.
Exactly, and he's obviously a very skilled fighter, Texas guy fighting out of Dallas. So shout out all the Texas fighters. We love them.
Yeah, we love them.
What happened here was a bit of inexperience, in my opinion. It was a guy who actually potentially could have closed the fight out. I mean, he hit OSP with some big shots, and OSP appeared to be a little rocked at certain points. And he did the same thing that we saw with Fabricio and Stipe. He started chasing a bit, thinking that he had the knockout or he had the finish, and we know what happens. Our old boxing coach used to say, don't get too craven, which in Jamaican patois, that basically means don't get too desperate for the knockout. Right. So I think he was like, man, I've got this veteran. This guy's gone all 5 rounds with John Jones. I could do something John couldn't. I could put him away. And he kind of started to chase a little bit and get a little erratic with his shots. He was very precise in the beginning, and then he started swinging big bombs. And when you start doing that against a veteran who's got power in his hands like OSP does, you run an extreme risk of getting knocked out, which is exactly what happened. Yeah, and fighters, it's hard to blame any fighter for doing something like that, especially when you're in there with a legend and you're kind of still green in the sense that I think he was 9-1 going into last night's Saturday's fight. But he started his career 9-0, and then he's lost his last 2.
Yeah, that's okay. It happens in MMA. In boxing, they'll throw you to the undercard.
Yeah, that's a couple years later, career,
you'll be owning a gym, and that's about it. But no, when you have a monster like OSP standing in front of you, and you've just dazed him, you've just rocked him. What you want to do is get him the hell out of there, because you know how hard it is to get him in that position. So it's hard to blame him, but if he learned something in this fight, which I believe he probably will take to the mats and grow off of, it's that you just keep your head calm, keep cool, and piece him up instead of go for the tornado knockout.
Right. Well, if the thing that a lot of people who are watching on TV can't appreciate is if you have somebody else rocked, you don't know what it's like inside their head. They're seeing funny. They're dazed. They're confused. You have a substantial advantage at that point.
Right.
Don't give it away because a veteran will still have the composure no matter how rocked he is to see an opportunity.
Right.
And that's what OSP did. He saw an opportunity. Don't give them that opportunity. If you've got them dazed, then it's like you're a purple belt playing with a new white belt.
Right.
You know, you can but don't stick your leg out there or put yourself in an arm bar
because their reflexes will
they'll still get you. You know, and so that's what happened here.
Especially in striking. And when you see guys do that, they'll catch somebody who's a better striker than them or a more experienced guy, kind of like this whole situation. You'll see them just go crazy, with big shots because they want to just knock them out and get them out. But when you start doing that, you're obviously pressuring, right? Because generally when you rock somebody, they're moving backwards. You're now moving forward,
right?
And you're running at them. And when you're weighing, I'll even say 155 and above, when you're rushing at somebody with that kind of weight,
you're giving them all the momentum that they need.
You run straight at them. They can throw just a shot with their barely conscious to throw, but it's enough to knock you out when you meet them.
Fabricio Verdum with Stipe.
That was
Jose Aldo
running
running in on Conor.
Right.
If you rush in, you're giving your opponent the momentum he needs to knock you out.
Right. Yeah.
And if you're doing it with your hands down like Jose did or swinging erratically like Alonzo did last night, you can set yourself up for disaster.
Yeah, that's the whole thing is a car crash is always worse when the two cars are moving towards each other.
Yeah.
One car going towards a still car isn't near as bad as two cars going 100 miles an hour into each other. So that's kind of the situation he put himself in. He ran right for it, and I don't think that was an overly powerful shot, but it was enough mixed with his momentum to put him down.
Where do you see OSP next? Give me an opponent. Who do you want to see him fight?
Well, I don't think that his little skid at heavyweight should weigh too heavy into his future moving forward at light heavyweight. We've got some fun to happen down there. Maybe they've moved Rakic.
Alexander Rakic. Yeah,
they moved him into the top 5.
Yeah,
maybe give them both each other so we can see kind of who's going to solidify themselves as a top 5 contender.
Yeah, that would be a good one. Or I would propose the loser of Blachowicz versus Dominic Reyes.
Well, for sure. That would be great. I think either one of those guys, Rakic or OSP, would like that. OSP's a big body. And, we realized when Rakic was standing next to Anthony Smith that he's a big body. And I think those are two of the bigger guys in the light heavyweight division. And they're for sure two of the most athletic guys in the light heavyweight division. Yeah. So I think that would be a fun fight. And it would be a true test for Rakic. And I think OSP would give him a lot of trouble.
I think so. There's a lot of fun fights to be made at light heavyweight right now.
Yeah.
Guys, that's it for this episode. Let us know what you think. Who do you want to see these two veterans, Ailstair Overeem and Ovince Saint Preux, fight next?
Yeah.
Presumably both of them are at the tail end of their career here, so it might be one more run and done for both of them. Leave a comment. Let us know who you want to see them fight. And as always, please check us out where you listen to podcasts and like, comment, subscribe.
Have a good one, y'all.
Thanks so much.